Okay, so here we go on the riding across of tension with the 2-4 profile when the sun is in gate 38. It's the line of politeness, opposition that does not transgress normal codes of behavior, the value of discretion, or the energy for over politeness. What is this old expression? Discretion is the better part of valor. Basically, the 38 2, when they're at their most polite, is informing you of how useless you are to them. Understand that. This is not niceness. This is not humanistic. It's not any of those things. The 38s attract violence. And I just don't mean physical violence, but verbal violence. They do. It is clear when you feel the aura that you know that they are fighters. It doesn't have this name for nothing. So you must be very suspicious about a 2-4 on this cross, or any 2-4. Think about the second line theme and recognize that built into the second line themes is politeness. Now, politeness is a strategy. It's a strategy for protecting your integrity. It's a strategy for being able to preserve your energy for the right action. So, when you have somebody who has this line and they're being polite, what's really going on inside of them is, I'd like to take this son of a bitch by the throat and hang them. But what they're really saying is, could you please pay your bill? They don't want to waste your energy on what happens. If they let go on what they really have inside, it's not worth the fight. It's not. As a matter of fact, the interesting thing about the 38-2 is that they will completely lose this the moment that right action is there. In other words, if right action truly demands that they shed their politeness, they actually will. But they have to be in the right action. The deepest concern of the root gates pointed out the spleen is not misusing this energy, not wasting the energy. That's when you see that these people have all three channels defined. And it's surprising how many times you get to see that. Is that these beings need to exercise because they repress so much energy waiting for the right action that they end up with enormous problems, usually water retention, and need to have the exercise to get this energy out. I always tell 38 gays to do martial arts, be the fighter, live out the fighting, and do that with the martial arts. And, don't do it with other people. Anyway, in other words, when you're looking at the 58 and you're looking at the 38 or you're looking at the 54, understand something. This is energy being restrained, waiting for the right thing. And this is the 2-4 is a classic example because when the fighter is polite, you really know that they're just trying to be left alone. They don't want to engage in the struggle. 2-4 don't like the struggle. We know that. They don't want to learn. It's a bitch when they're called out. They have to be responsible for all that, the whole movie. I had that for many years, particularly with 2838s. And you get to the not self 2838. And if they're second line and you ask them about the struggle in their life, they basically tell you that it really hasn't been a struggle. The wasting of energy is what it is so depressing for the 2838. When you see this being, they waste so much energy in the struggle. Where are the keys? Where the hell did I put the keys? And then they get upset that they can't remember the keys. Well, maybe they've got Alzheimer's or Alzheimer's is coming and they go looking for the keys and they can't find the keys and they can get really angry or frustrated or bitter or disappointed and on and on and on. In the meantime, that whole business of trying to find the damn keys has taken up an enormous amount of energy. Anytime you end up wasting energy, if you're coming out of these root gates, then the consequences is that you don't get to the right action. You don't. It always amazes me that struggle people don't have their mundane things organized in such a way that they remember where everything is. If you know what you always misplace the keys, and you can go through this horrible struggle of dealing with that, why don't you just invent a place in your house where you always put the keys? It's so fucking simple. It is. And then you always know where they are. And they don't do that. It's really incredible because the not self of that is that at least it seems that they're trying to find their purpose in a very perverse way. And remember, second lines carry perversion as an underlying theme. The 2-5. The 2-5s are very polite. They're incredible polite. And their politeness is so vicious that you don't want to deal with them. It's vicious. They make people want to fight with them out of being so polite. It's so difficult to deal with these people because not only are they so polite, but there's a smile on their face. It doesn't even have to be visible. It's this smile that you know that this politeness means something. It's infuriating that the other person, and for the 2-5, it's the great protection, enormous protection. They're suspicious of why you're there anyway. They don't want to waste their energy on you. They sure as hell don't want to engage in a fight with you. And they're really, really good at being so polite. And people get so angry with them. The typical 2-5 reaction to all of that is that you go deep into your retreat. Your passenger retreats deeply and your body just becomes paranoid. You always get what you don't have. You always meet what you're pointed at. The 38 is always going to meet. The 28 is always going to be there. The 28 38 is always going to meet integration. It's built in. After all, it's good for them and good for integration. It's part of the process. So, one of the things about the nature of this whole politeness business is that the more polite they are, the worse it gets for them. It's the confusion of the not self that purpose is the same as right action. And it isn't. In other words, the behavior code that if you can find the right behavior, this is right action to be polite. For example, becomes the right action, but it's not. It's a right action at all. It's it's not a right action at all. It's just a way of being deaf. It's one of the many ways that the 38 is deaf. What? No. Did you say something? What? No, I don't hear you. What? Are you saying something? No, I don't know. Are you deaf? Maybe.